My name's Bob Clark and I'm the Deputy Research Director for Wessex Archaeology in Salisbury. So I'm aiming today to look at visual impairment within archaeology. Now, 5 years ago, I lost my sight overnight. And a lot of people said that, well, that must be your career over, because let's face it, archaeology is pretty much a visual activity, including going on site, encountering finds, writing up reports, map work, you name it, it all requires a pair of eyes. Well, working with Wessex Archaeology, I've been able to carry on. And now I can report that 5 years on from my sight loss, I am still a fully integrated member of the Wessex Archaeology research team. Now, being visually impaired, as you would imagine, sets up its own challenges, including some mental issues. But I'm not going to talk about those specifically today. I'd rather let people know how we've made it possible for me to access as much of the Wessex archaeology and archaeological world as is physically possible. This comes through a range of technologies that we're using, and some of these are expensive, but what I hope to do towards the end of this is suggest some directions where you can access funding for such things. Now, the first thing to say is that I am fairly rare, as far as I know, in being a fully blind archaeologist. I'm sure I'm not the only one in the country, and I'd love to hear from anyone who is in a similar situation to me or knows of anyone like that, so we can build a network. So what we've been doing at Wessex is we've been using a number of technologies, one complementing another, to actually make a better encounter or experience for me as we go forward. So to introduce a few of those, the first one is the good old Microsoft package. Microsoft, if that's your preferred office thing, and it is for most people, let's be frank, it has a speech to text program called Dictate, and it also has a readback program, which, as the name implies, reads back the text. In the past, any speech to text program, you had to teach it how you spoke, and you can imagine from my accent that was quite entertaining on occasion. But nowadays, when you select Dictate on Word, which as we have here, it connects to the internet, which means it's got an infinitely bigger lexicon behind it. And to be honest with you, as long as you don't gabble along like I tend to do on occasion, you can get quite a good word count going. But of course, a word of warning, you have to reread it back, and that's where the readback comes in. So the first role of the archaeologist, which is to write, is pretty much accessible now to all, and certainly to me. So I am now writing reports, as I used to do, and basically running figures for the company and all sorts of things like that. The next basic technology is the basic iPhone. The iPhone has on it a free speech program called Seeing AI. It will read text immediately back to you, or using the camera function. All you have to do is hold it over the text, and it will read up to a page of text, converting it from OCR to speech almost instantly. So the good old iPhone will recognise most modern fonts. But as we all know, some of those awkward references tend to be from the 1890s or in old books written in the 1930s. Certainly mine are. I'm a military archaeologist, so of course I tend to inhabit Second World War documents. Even the typing or the typeface is difficult to read for the iPhone. So we've come to the next type of technology, which is the Da Vinci, which you can see here. And what it does is it photographs text, and that text is then converted to speech. For people who are suffering with some level of sight loss, but not total, it also allows you to expand a text to about letters about this size on the screen if need be, which is extreme, I know, but it is also helpful. A couple of colleagues of mine have already used that. The Da Vinci, as you can see, is not very portable. It's fairly heavy. It's a desk-based piece. This is the all cam, and this small piece here, which is a camera, OCR and processor and speech generator, performs the same function that the Da Vinci does. All it doesn't do is show it me in picture form or save it. Okay, so if we're just talking about day-to-day looking at things, this is the way forward. Okay, so the last piece of technology I'll show you is called swell technology. Yes, and I know that sounds a bit dodgy, but as you know, the archaeologist lives on maps and plans, site plans, sections, layers, you name it. If we can illustrate it, we will do it. The problem is an illustration is a flat piece. So what swell technology does, as the name suggests, is you photocopy the original image onto some prepared paper, and it's got a slight matte feeling to it. You put it through the swell machine, and wherever the black lines are, when it goes through the swell machine, infrared in that machine bursts micro pockets underneath the black line and makes all the lines stand out in relief. So these are just over a millimetre high, these. But the fact of the matter is that I can then follow them. I can read through the document, through readback, and follow where the document is talking about and encounter the rooms and layouts accordingly. And this is one of the groundbreakers for me, certainly, because up until this point, I thought this type of stuff was lost. And as I said before, I'm a military archaeologist, so I'm all about bunkers and things like that. And this piece of technology has allowed me to encounter them once again. One thing I should say at this point is that this is no one-man band anymore, okay? And by the very nature of me being disabled, that brings forward reasonable adjustments through Wessex Archaeology or your employer, and also colleagues and friends. And I have a fantastic network of colleagues here now who understand what I need to function. People see me walking down the corridor with my cane, tapping away and hold doors open, things like that. But it's when you get to the nitty-gritty of this that it's colleagues you need to help you. And so Wessex have employed an assistant for me who performs other functions within the research team, but her primary role is to assist me in some of the administration that I encounter and such like. Of course, much of what I've shown you today is expensive, or at least comes with a price tag. But the fact of the matter is that you can get funding for this material. And I just want to run a few past you. So the first thing is Access to Work, a government scheme run by the DWP. It looks at two aspects of how you work. Obviously, I can't drive anymore. I've offered, but nobody wants to get in a car with me. I live 40 miles away from here, but I get a taxi funded by the government 2 days a week to this office. I do make a contribution to that, but the government shoulders a lot of that burden financially. The Access to Work scheme also will come and talk to you at work about what you do at work so that you can understand what equipment's on offer. And what is on offer so far is the Da Vinci, all the speech to text stuff that you get if you don't like Microsoft. The list is endless, to be honest. They're adding to it all the time. So when I accessed it initially, there was quite a bit of material on it, but now I believe the ORCAM's on there and various other things as well. So don't despair, it is out there. The RNIB is another access point, as is I have here in Wiltshire site, which covers the southwest, and they have fairs and activities and encounter days and things like that where you can try this technology out, see what fits for you. So I would encourage you to chase down any funding you can. So I hope that's been useful. I know it sounded like a bit of a sales pitch. It's not intended to be, but I just wanted to get across to you the fact that this is a difficult situation you find yourself in, especially overnight, as you can imagine. But with good friends, a good company, and the support of charities and the government, it is possible to see a way ahead.